Right. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us today. And I want to thank Marcy, my virtual uh, friend and also fellow coach. And we wanted to talk about wellness today. And so, Marcy, thank you for taking the time to be here during your busy homeschooling and business entrepreneur schedule.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. So today I wanted to talk about Marcy's story, and she's just been an absolute inspiration. Her heart, her experiences just really come alive. And so I've had the pleasure of getting to see her, you know, just blossom in the time that I've known her. And she's had an amazing transformation before that. But I'd love to hear a little bit about like your story and how you started your health journey.
Yeah. Well, I know that, this month especially, it's September, we're focusing a lot on mental health wellness. And that's a big part of my story is mental health. Physical health has its own play in it, but everything that affected me physically started mentally. So I grew up in a household where um, our nutrition was not a key investment. Um, we had a lot of, how would you say it? There's just a lot of disarray with emotional health. It was shamed in my family. Um, yeah, it was not something that you talked about. You definitely did not fess up to that you had a situation like that. Um, it's just a lot of stigma, a lot of stigma. And so what I did best was hide my emotions. I would self-medicate. I would self-soothe. Food was my pacifier. I had a very intimate relationship with food. Um, I was almost married to it because I would treat, this is where it kind of gets weird. I would treat my relationship, my marriage with food the same way as I would treat my marriage. I'm in my third marriage now. And the marriage, the relationship I'm talking about was that if I felt unsafe, I would eat.
Mm-hmm.
If I felt abandoned, I would eat. But if I was stressed or I was depressed, I would also use it as a weapon against me. So I would put a wall up against food. And especially when I was depressive, there was a lot of depressing things that happened in my life. And I would put a wall up. I would stop eating. I would do that for 3 days until I would finally start crashing.
Oh,
Your body can
wow.
only support you for so long, you know.
Mhm.
I would crash, which would lead to me just starting to slowly nibble my way back to the pacifier. And I would eventually start going on binges again. And so I would lead to another depressive moment. And it was just that constant yo-yo of emotional mismanagement that led to my ultimate demise in my physical health.
What would usually spread like the binges? Like, what would some of your emotions be leading up to that?
A lot of it was how I reflected on how I saw myself. I saw myself as I was the unwanted person. I was the black sheep of the family. That I had a lot of baggage. I was physically abused, emotionally abused, verbally abused. There was a lot of things. I mean, some of my marriages involved drug abuse where I was being physically, domestically assaulted. Um, so I saw, and that was starting at age 18.
Oh,
Yeah. And so with that type of situation, I saw myself as the punching bag, and it was okay. I started learning and accepting that it was okay to be beat up for the sake of helping someone. That's how I saw it. That's how I read it. It was the biggest lie I ever told myself, you know,
but mhm.
but I believed it. And so I grew up thinking it was okay to be somebody's personal punching bag, to whether it was physical or mental abuse. That was okay because that's what you're supposed to do, you know. I became like a martyr in a way. And I would sacrifice myself for the
Yeah.
sake of someone else. And emotionally, that was a lot of crap, you know, and it carried on that when my dad passed away in 2011, of course, I grew up watching him get sick. You know, he had heart disease and diabetes. He eventually started going on dialysis. He had gangrene in his leg from diabetes, so they amputated it. Um, the last time I saw him was 2 weeks before he died, and he had had a massive heart attack again. He had 90% blockage in one, 80% in the other, and they resuscitated him because he had died, and they brought him back, and I got to see him. That was the last time I ever saw him, and I always grew up believing that my dad was the cause, for whatever reason, of my emotional trauma. But now that I see it, it's like, no, dad actually had his crap together. You know, life was just happening and he didn't know how to have a handle on it. And I didn't learn very well at that time because of where I was emotionally. So when dad passed away on Father's Day, it was exactly 2 weeks later from the day I saw him. That was a rough season, and it led to me spiraling out of control. Now, a year prior to that, I had a bad car accident. So I was already having a lot of health issues myself with my back, and I was going through physical therapy at the time. I was gaining a lot of weight as a side effect of that. And so after my dad died, I hit depression, you know, and it took me a long time to start coming out of that. But I did that again through food.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't process it in a healthy way. I held on to that grief for a very long time. My husband and I, my current husband, Matt, and I married in 2012, ironically, the day before Father's Day.
Oh.
We did that with intention. You know, that was intentional. And he saw me through a lot of junk. But I'll tell you that the real turning point was after we had our son in 2016. And I was officially finally diagnosed, because the doctors were always like, oh, no, that's not what you have. You know, you don't have all these things. But I was officially diagnosed by a doctor who actually saw it, with chronic anxiety, chronic depression, and complex PTSD. She finally saw it. And she said, this is exactly what you have. Everything you're going through fits the description, you know. And I was having chronic migraines on top of it. You know, the pain from 7 herniated discs, which was cutting off my sciatic nerve. I had a 80% of face disc, which was hitting my sciatic nerve. So I was told I was not supposed to be able to walk as well. And then I was having high blood pressure issues and high blood sugar issues. And you can feel those things happening. So I went to go see an endocrinologist, and they diagnosed me with type 2 diabetes. So it was like, oh my word, I was getting ready to go on blood pressure meds too. And I'm like, okay, this has got to stop, seriously. And they're like, well, how do I make it stop? And he told me, it's like, well, you just got to lose weight.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, sure, that's going to be simple. You know, so before my car accident, I was actually doing Jillian Michaels, running around the block, push-ups, I mean, all the things, you know. And so I knew I couldn't do that, because my doctors with my back told me, don't do those things anymore. Your back cannot handle it. And so, and I tried, and I proved that I couldn't do it. You know, I just can't do push-ups. Even to this day, I cannot do a push-up. So I was like, well, what else can I do? Oh, I know what else I can do. I can go back to starving myself, because that works great. I lost weight doing that. As long as I eat 1 time a day, it's like intermittent fasting, which is a trend going on right now, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, that's what I'll do. I'll just do fasting every day. And so I did that, and it worked. I lost 20 pounds. But as a side effect, I got really sick emotionally. You know, all the things were triggering off again. I was an unstable basket case. Physically, I was in a tremendous amount of pain because of all the inflammation caused from my lifestyle. My blood sugars didn't get any better. They got worse. And my blood pressure was still through the roof. migraines 24 hours a day, every single day. I couldn't get freedom from them. So I started living my life primarily in my room, in my bed. And we moved to California after our son was born. At the time we lived in Wisconsin. So I'm thinking, oh, it's the northern lights that are causing all my problems. It's the cold, all the thing. We always play a story in our mind of the excuse cards that we want to play.
Oh, absolutely.
Justify. So I was like, oh, well, we'll move out to where the desert is and all my problems will magically erase them. That's what I told myself. Well, that didn't happen. They intensified. And so I was like, well, that didn't fix it. I was always looking for a quick fix.
Yeah.
Before we moved, I actually reached out to who is my now current health coach, Felicity. And I told her, all the things I was facing. And she's like, well, she says, why don't you give it a month and see how much better you feel? And I started justifying why I shouldn't be doing that. Mm-hmm. We're moving and we're going through a big change. I can't handle any more change right now. And money was another factor because I didn't work because I was let go from my job. And then my husband, we're just barely making ends meet and we didn't qualify for anything. And so I'm like, no, because I couldn't see that we would actually help our situation in all three of those areas. Mental, physical, financial. I didn't see it at the time. So after we moved, neither of us have a job now. Mm-hmm. I had gotten to the point where I was having panic attacks every single day. I was to the point of suicide. Like I did not want to be present on this earth. I wanted my life to be over with. I wanted to stop harming my family with how I was treating myself. And I really thought that I was detrimental to everyone. Like I was everyone's problem, and I started that comparison trap. Why can't I be normal? Why can't I be like this person? Why can't I just have an actual life that's pain-free and all these things, right? And I knew with diabetes, it's like, well, it's only just a matter of time before I wind up just like my dad.
So when was your moment, or when were you just say, enough?
Enough happened around October 26th of 2017. Because it was the very next day I called Felicity. And I had finally broke it. And I was on the couch. I never actually got off the couch. I was still out there. I was planning to sleep out there for the night. My husband was in bed across the hall. And I accidentally woke him up. I have no idea how, because I've been crying out there several nights in a row. He never woke up for any of it. But that night in particular was the one night he actually somehow stirred and woke up. And I call it divine intervention. That's exactly what it was. So he comes wandering down the hall. He's like, what are you doing up? I'm like, I couldn't even talk to him. I couldn't even answer that. And he saw it. He saw it because, I'm just distraught. And for the first time, I remember him getting down on his knees and holding my hands in his hands and crying with me. This is a man that does not cry.
Yeah.
And he's like, I hate seeing you like this. And not only am I crying, but you can see the pain in my face. Like, I am done, He's like, how can I help you? And I'm like, you can't help me. I'm unhelpable. No one can help me. My doctors couldn't fix me. Medicine doesn't fix me. Therapy didn't fix me. All the things, right? It's like, I just want to be done. I just want to get it over with. It's going to be inevitable. Let's just get it over with. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't want to live. I don't want to go through this every day. I'm sick and tired of it. It's very depressing to go through chronic pain 24 hours a day in every direction. And I'm like, if no one can fix me and my life doesn't get any better, why should I be living on this earth? That is not fair to anyone, especially me. So he begged me. He knows I'm a person of promise. He begs me to promise him to try one last thing by working with my coach for 30 days. And I'm telling him, it's like, no, honey, because we don't have money to work with her. And, because again, neither of us have a job at this point. We're living off of a savings account. That's all we got. And so we're still buying our own groceries, all these things. And I'm like, we can barely make groceries right now, at least until you get a job. You know, he's like, no, he says, you can't wait that long. You call Felicity tomorrow and promise me you'll give it 30 days. See if it will help. I said, but what if it doesn't work, just like everything else? He said, then we'll come to that bridge when we cross 30 days. He said, but I won't stand in your way if that's the case. So that's a lot of trust on his part, you know. But I also think that he believed in it, you know. And so I called Felicity up because I made a promise. And I was like, girl, I said, I'll work with you for 30 days. I'll try it. But I will tell you right now, I don't believe it. I don't believe it's going to be the solution that I'm looking for. I don't believe it's going to help me out. I'm just testing the water so I can tell Matt that it didn't work for me. She said, that's fine. You don't have to believe it. Just know that I believe in you. I believe it for you. And I know you're going to find the answer. All right, fine. So I'm laughing at her, you know. And so I started working with her, you know, in November 1st was my very first official day working with her. And, but she was supportive up till that point. Within a week or so, I was able to get out of bed for the first time unassisted. That very same day, I remember waking up. I finally slept the whole night. That's everything I was dealing with, was insomnia. I could not sleep. And I finally slept that night, and I woke up, and it was like the gray cloud had been lifted off my face, and I could finally see color. You know, it was almost like you were in this really weird, you know, it's kind of those
black and white movie
TV shows. Yeah. You know, it's like, man, it's like you go from monochrome to fully dimensional Technicolor, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's what it felt like. And then I got up because I didn't have a tremendous amount of chronic pain to deal with for the first time, which is what kept me down.
Yeah.
You know, and then a week later, I started having more energy. Mm-hmm. And I started to be managing my emotions in a much better way. And I'm like, what on earth is this magic stuff? You know,
yeah,
nothing magic. It was just, I was finally learning how to take care of myself, and my body was rewarding me with that. And I didn't know how healthy I was. You know, I never knew what healthy felt like. Knowing now, looking back, even till the time I was like 7, 8 years old, I suffered with migraines even back then. I would get dizzy spells and I'd fall to the ground. I remember those days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my brain and spine specialist could never find the answer. They didn't know what to do. So I was just like, well, this is just what's normal. But I don't have those issues anymore.
That's incredible. And like,
it's crazy.
And your mindset now, like what does your mindset feel like now? Like,
oh, it's like this big boulder was just lifted off. You know, I have a purpose for living. I love my life. I love who I've become in the process. I've done some really hard things. I've had some really hard conversations, and I've learned that's part of healing. You know, healing isn't hiding away and running away from your situation. It's confronting it head on, you know, and doing it in a way that you love and respect yourself. Because when you love and respect yourself, that automatically goes forward into loving and respecting those that you care about. And I come to terms with the fact that I was not showing my family love and respect when I did not take care of me.
Yeah. No, taking care of yourself first helps you better, you know, be able to serve those around you. Yeah. And speaking of service, you also have, you know, helped so many around you, you know, coaching people on their journeys. When did you start that?
6 weeks into my own journey. I was, again, my husband talked me into it because I didn't want to coach. I did not want to help other people. I mean, I did, but I didn't, right?
Yeah, like, no, I didn't do it.
Yeah, my way of helping people was, here, talk to Felicity. But Felicity didn't take my referral. She's like, Marcy, you have 2 situations. People are reaching out to you. You don't have a job. Could you benefit from earning some income by helping your friends who keep coming to you? Yeah, I could actually. It would help relieve a lot of pressure, because up until I lost my job, like, because I worked for student loan services. And before that, I was an office manager. And before that, I was a dog groomer. I mean, I've been around the block, but I'm so used to supporting my family financially. And so when that option was taken off the table, that added to my emotional distress. But now all of a sudden, I've been presented with a gift that has the opportunity of blessing my family financially again. And I had no idea at the time, not only would I get a financial blessing, but it would help me with my personal growth as well. So now I had like this huge emotional health blessing. And honestly, I do coaching for that purpose. And I just so happen to get paid for it so I can help my family sustain a healthy life. And so it's a huge blessing that was just all packaged up.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. I mean, like hearing the pain and where you were at for a long time to like a complete 180.
Mhm.
It's just amazing to, hear the happy in your voice and be able to share that with those around you. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
You know how Facebook pops up with those little time memories?
Little memories. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was listening to a couple of videos of myself because I would go live periodically. I mean, 3 years ago, around this time, we were actually in process of moving to California. So we were on the road. This is before my journey started, exactly 2 months before my journey started.
Mhm.
And I was watching those videos and you could see the pain. You could hear it. I mean, I would be smiling, but deep down, like I know where I was at that point. Like even on the road, I was having panic attacks. I could not go into a stinking fast food restaurant to pick up food for my family. I was having a breakdown. And that was just like the hardest thing I've ever done. But looking back, and I'm like, wow, I've come so far. Now I have no problem going to a store. I have no problem driving an hour, up to 6 hours away. That's the furthest I've been so far. Well, I take that back. 2 years ago, I took my very first solo flight to St. Louis from California. That was the first time I'd been traveling by myself that far away from home.
Oh,
And that was the first time I realized I can do this. I can grow. I can become who I really want to be deep down, which was a person of dominant force. I wanted to be in control of my life. I want to be in control of my emotions. I wanted to stop reacting to everything. And I found that peace.
yeah. It's incredible. That is incredible. I am so thrilled for you. And I'm so glad that, like, again, your mindset, your mental well-being, and all of that has just improved so much. And also physically, you had a astounding transformation too, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. Well, the weight was not the thing I was looking for, as you've probably heard on this conversation.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
I mean, I had
Only a piece of it.
Yeah. The weight honestly affected it a lot more than I realized. But I always say, if you don't get this right, none of this is going to matter. So I've lost 145 pounds. I am off 7 different medications. So I no longer take insulin. I don't take my narcotic pain relievers. I don't need to take the blood pressure meds. I don't need to take the antidepressants and the anti-anxiety meds or the Xanax. All those things were all the things I was on several times a day. The Xanax, and I was becoming very addicted to them because unfortunately with narcotics, they have the addictive, what's the word for it? Piece of the, that's just what that's the side
they're
effect,
addictive.
unfortunately. They're very addictive.
Yeah.
Because it's a feel good thing, and I was craving the feel good. I just want to feel good.
Yeah.
And I don't need to depend on that anymore.
Yeah. No, they're not all in little silos, mental health or physical health. Like it's
Yeah.
interrelated. So
And, you know,
Thank
and
you.
I've went the whole route of like seeking professional help and
Mhm.
getting on the prescription drugs. And I have nothing against that. I just know that it wasn't the thing that served me best. I needed to get my health wholly in order for any professional help to help me.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing today. I really think there are a lot of folks who have struggled with mental health and well-being. My husband's a licensed clinical social worker, and we know that mental health is so important. But thank you for showing what
Yeah.
a transformation you've had. It's incredible, Marcy.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to share my story. And I just pray that this is helpful to someone out there that, you know, you never know the battles that someone's facing. I wasn't willing to talk about it. Even with my coach, I didn't tell her everything. You know, I didn't tell hardly anyone everything. And now that I've found hope and healing through what we offer as coaches, is like, now I can't hold it back. You know, like, oh, you guys, I've got the lifesaver. Let me throw it to you,
Mhm.
you know? And
Yeah.
that's why I'm a coach, honestly. It's because I found so much hope and healing that I consider it selfish not to offer that gift to someone else out there who may be stuck in the world that I was once stuck in.
Yeah. Oh, it's so true. Thanks again, Marcy.
Anytime. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye.